Welcome to the Jam Yearbook. I'm Jim.
And I'm Matt.
We're here to take you on a journey through the years as we explore the music in our lifetime and the impact it's had on us and the world we've lived in.
Welcome to version 1977.
Yeah, this week you put us into the way back machine. We're going to go to 1977. I think when we pulled the curtains back, we discovered that 1977 was actually a massive year for entertainment across the board. But let's not speculate your motivation here, Matt. We'll get the elephant out of the room right away. You just wanted to talk about Star Wars, didn't you?
Maybe. You're damn right.
Yeah.
But I wish I had that kind of foresight, though. I just chose it. I was looking at the list and like, hey, boom, there you go out. And then you texted immediately and it said, oh, crap. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Star Wars. But this is our second trip to the 70s. This one is even better than 71. We've started the show off with some great years in 1977. Did not disappoint. But before we get too far down the road, people may recognize the trend now. We always start with the Reaper.
Yeah, we do. I will start us off with Ronnie Van Zant. He died in 1977. I realize you and we've never been huge Skinner guys, but I do love me some Freebird every now and then. I don't necessarily go seek them out, but if it comes on, I'll embrace it. He died in an airplane crash just as Lynyrd Skynyrd's star was peaking. And I'm not going to go on about it in this show, but there's a great story about his rivalry with Neil Young and legends around his burial. Skynyrd actually just stopped touring a couple of years ago, so they went on. But I think that they would have had a bigger impact on music over a longer period of time if Ronnie had lived.
They certainly would have. And Elvis Presley was only 42 when he died.
Wow.
There was a lot of hard living crammed into those 42 years. I like a lot of us out there, grew up listening to Elvis, and I love these songs so much. I recently went through my parents' 45s to try to give them a clean because they were pretty bad. And I listened to every single Elvis Presley 45 I could find that was tucked in there. I got digital copies of all of it, but when you put on a 45 of Let Me Be Your Teddy Bear, or Wear My Ring Around Your Neck,
yeah,
I heard all those familiar pops and cracks at the right times that I did as a kid. And it brought me back to the moment when I was first listening and discovering these songs. A month before he died, he released his album, Moody Blue. His health had been declining for a few years at this point, thanks to drugs, both illicit and prescribed. But he felt he wasn't a common junkie because, doctors were prescribing these drugs to him. But eventually they took his life.
Yeah, I think it's something that we probably both remember from 1977. If we don't remember all the music, we remember when Elvis died.
I do. I remember it hit my mom pretty hard.
Yeah, my dad, he was a massive fan.
Yep.
Someone I've only learned about in recent years was Mark Bolan. He died at the age of 29 in 1977. He was killed in a car crash. Bolan had been around since the 60s, and this is one of those guys I wish I knew how people became so connected to him. I wonder if he's one of those guys you had to appreciate, in the moment when he was around. His songs with T-Rex are cool, Bang a Gong and 20th Century Boy, and they've been covered a bunch of times by other bands and still get classic rock airplay. They just never spoke to me on an iconic platform. But he and David Bowie had a lifelong friendship, and Bolan was the kind of standard that Bowie was always trying to set himself by. Bowie released Heroes in 1977, but was jamming with Bolan the week that he died. Mark Bolan is either guilty or responsible, depending how you see it, for glam rock. He was the first person in the UK to show up on television as a guest wearing very prominent eye makeup. The funny thing is, at his roots, he really dug American blues, like so many other British musicians in the 60s. I dug his stuff this week. I gave it a good listen. I don't think we had seen his best. I think he was young, and it was sad for the music world to lose him.
Yeah, is one of those names where you seem to have always heard it, and I'm surprised to hear he was so young when he died, because that name, Mark Bolan, I've heard so many artists claim him as an influence.
Yeah.
So he definitely cast a big shadow, especially in glam rock.
Yeah, he did. All right, so let's get into this music from 1977. You had a good time in 1980. You were really excited about a lot of the music from there.
Still am.
Yeah. but I think I'm more aligned with the quality and quantity of 1977.
I can't blame you. The music sounds incredible. There's a good mix of genres, all with great songs.
Isn't it something how it seemed like almost every genre was on top of the charts at one point or another?
Yeah, there's no like hard dividing lines like it feels like we do now with how radio stations are programmed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got your classic rock station, you got your alt rock station, blah, 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 on and on down the road. They're all creating great songs: country, rock, pop, disco. Teen Star, Sean Cassidy and Andy Gibb both had number one hits with Da Do Run Run and I Just Want to Be Your Everything. Yes, I know you chuckled there, and I had to suppress my own. And on the countryside, we had Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. They were finding success in country and pop, both great crossover successes. There's a ton of classic rock radio staples in 1977. Even though it wasn't charting, this was a great year for the kind of punk that I absolutely love. And even the prog that was out, I found very listenable. Oh, wait, was I just saying that Sean Cassidy and Andy Gibb were making great music? You didn't call me out on that. It was great for somebody. All the great music in 77. And the first song that gets mentioned is "Da Do Run Run." Why didn't you stop me?
I owned it too. We had that Sean Cassidy record.
Oh, did you have the Tiger Beat copy too?
No, I didn't buy Tiger. Well, maybe I probably did, or at least, at the very least, the Dynamite magazine that he would have.
Oh yeah, it was at the barber shop or something.
Yeah, well, especially when he was with the Hardy Boys as well.
Oh yeah, him and
Yeah.
Baywatch guy there, Parker Stevens.
Parker Stevens,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who. Yeah.
So I know 1980 was a little bit harder for you, which I found to be a surprise at the time. You obviously didn't have the same disconnect with 1977.
I have more vivid memories of 1977 and everything that was going on than when we were looking through 1980. It may just be down to where I was in my development. I wasn't 5 until September, but my mother loved Star Wars. Thank you, Mom. And brought me to see it in the movie theater twice that summer. So I don't know, maybe I was just very impressionable, like a sponge soaking up the world around me. And I was starting to pay a lot more attention to the world in 1977. Or, it was just such a big year. I couldn't help but notice.
Well, Empire Strikes Back was 1980.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't use that as an excuse, but yeah, sometimes the music just hits you differently. And yeah, 1980, you said you weren't making the music choices that I was. I'm a year or two older than you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in 1977, neither of us were making a lot of conscious choices other than, oh, I like that song, but somebody else played it. I think that just speaks to the quality and longevity of the music in 1977. So we should probably just start taking turns name dropping now. I'm assuming.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that.
That's where we're at. There's just so much to get to.
There is, and name dropping was important in 1977. It might get you into Studio 54, which opened in this year. It was the must-be seen club for so many celebrities and musical icons. So in name dropping, we've seen the iconic photos of Bowie, Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger, and Diana Ross. This place was known for open drug use, sex in the basement, and there was a 77-year-old dancing grandmother on the floor. It only lasted a couple of years due to tax evasion, but it made its mark with films and branding that have lasted up to present day. There's currently a series being developed, and I'm sure it's going to be pretty seedy. The funny thing is, there was another club just up the road that I think you and I would have rather gone to, and that was CBGBs.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was opened by Hilly Crystal a few years earlier, and it was still peaking in 1977. There are definitely some names we can drop there too. Guess what, people? Here you go, Matt, the Ramones. If we're taking the opportunity to throw out names, you have the Talking Heads. They emerged from CBGBs with their debut album titled appropriately for this show, 77. Iggy Pop released some of his most liked material in 1977. If I were in my 20s in 1977, I may have lived at CBGBs. I would have avoided using the toilet there. I saw a film a few years back starring Alan Rickman as Hilly Crystal. The critics hated it, but I really recommend watching it. It does a fairly good job telling the story of the Ramones, Television, Blondie, Talking Heads, and a bunch of others getting their start. Can you imagine hearing Psycho Killer for the first time? When I was young, it was one of my dreams to go and play at CBGBs. It just never happened. But the guys from my band Cinderblock Baby continued on in another band, and they are able to claim that they played at CBGBs. I'm proud of them, and I'm always going to be a little jealous of them at the same time.
As am I. Patrons were probably so drunk and high they didn't notice or care how nasty everything was. All those bands you mentioned, I listen to now, or I can turn on the radio and hear, except television. I don't know how much love television gets, but Marquee Moon is a fantastic record. It hits very similar to Talking Heads, just a little bit more raw.
Mhm.
And for the record, you brought up the Ramones first, and thank you for that. They can open a couple conversations. First, just great punk bands that were out in the 70s. The Damned, debuts from the Clash and the Sex Pistols.
Yep.
Not only debuts from the Jam and the Stranglers, but they each had 2 albums in 1977. We're still in that era of artists putting out multiple albums in the same year. 1977, we got our first and second doses of one of my favorite bands, Cheap Trick, their self-titled debut, and In Color.
Yep.
In Color is virtually a greatest hits album for me, except for that version of I Want You to Want Me. It's so bad. The Runaways, Kiss, although one was alive too, they did have some studio cuts on it. Sammy Hagar had a couple albums. One of his just narrowly missed my 5 this week. I really thought it was going to be there. I usually don't get into prog. I think you're kind of in that same boat as me. I feel like I'm being asked to solve a math problem and I'm just not smart enough to pull it off, or there's just too many variables and I don't have enough information. But I don't mind a lot of it here. Utopia, I trust because of Todd Rundgren. But other than Utopia, there's Starcastle, Klaatu, Barclays, James Harvest. I mean, you can usually tell a prog band by the name. But aside, they were all really good. Much of it isn't like the 10-minute opus songs that can kind of turn us off, but being condensed makes it much more enjoyable for me. I checked out like at least half an album from each of these bands, and I heard things that made me want to go back to them.
You know, prog guys look at me like I'm an idiot. I have some friends who are prog musicians, and it's really hard for me to talk shit about it because it's almost like something you need to wrap your head around and understand, or in another sense, have a need for. It's almost like playing a 4/4 beat is just incredibly boring to them, or having that ensemble. And I think in prog music, it's a lot more about individual instrumentation and then where you can fit that all into the pocket. Prog really is jazz in so many ways.
Yeah.
It
it is.
It is. But come on, go do your math homework somewhere else.
Yeah, I completely agree. And really, I just don't need to hear scales all the time.
Yeah.
I understand, yeah, the whole roadmap with the songs and everything can get repetitive and homogenous. So I don't mind key changes, but I also just don't need to hear 8 different scales played on different neck variations. I just don't need to hear it.
No, and it's interesting for somebody to have that skill, and I can watch somebody do it for 5 minutes, but to listen to an hour and 20-minute album of it's not something I want to do.
Exactly. Snack time.
Yeah, and we're bound to hit some prog rock running through the 70s without a doubt.
Oh, of course.
I know I'm probably going to look the other way. It just has never really been my thing.
Yeah, and we can probably lump Rush in there too. Individually, those are 3 of the most impressive musicians in the world. But together, I'm challenged to listen to a lot of their music. But then they come out with something like Closer to the Heart, and it's gold, it's magic. And that song is a staple of radio. A lot of the music from 1977 is, and to a degree, I'm tired of a lot of it. There is some fatigue just because I've heard it so much over the years. But it's amazing that so much of it comes out at the same time. And I know Steely Dan isn't prog, but again, I'm not smart enough for most of their music either.
I'll hit on Rush another year, but what I can say about Rush is I want to like Rush, and I'll go put it on, and for 2 or 3 songs I'll really get it and I'll be happy listening to it, and then it just reaches a threshold of I can't listen to Geddy Lee sing anymore. I've got to shut this off. But they are a great band, and I'm not going to take away from that talent. And what you just said about Steely Dan, well, they had that big album Asia in 1977. They're one of those bands that you can throw the name out And the reaction tells you the exact type of conversation you're going to have with people.
Yep. You're either going to drop it or you're going to gush.
Yeah, they brought in almost 40 studio musicians that were at the top of the game at the time. And I've listened to this album. I spent some time listening to it for another show that I was working on at a different time. It didn't turn me into a Steely Dan fan, but it did give me some respect for how slick it was. Just so tight. Just amazing performances on each song. You can tell these guys were perfectionists. And this was definitely an era as well of radio staples. 1977 has three of the biggest selling albums of all time. No other year has two in the top 10. You had Fleetwood Mac Rumors, Meatloaf Bad Outta Hell, and the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, which features mostly songs from the Bee Gees.
This is the kind of year where we could spend the whole show name dropping, just like we've been doing for the last couple of minutes. Just saying that's great and not really going into why they are, we've already done a chunk of that. But those three albums, we kind of need to do justice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of one and a half of them. I have trouble with Meatloaf, but I have put in some work, in trying to appreciate Bad Outta Hell. I have a problem with show tunes. That's just going to be a calling card of mine that people are going to get used to hearing. And that Meatloaf falls into that category for me. Back in the day, I remember loving 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad. But I went back to it this week and I had great anticipation. I was like, oh man, I remember I loved that song so much, but it just doesn't hold up at all.
Yeah, Meatloaf is musical theater. I figured out why I loved Meatloaf so much as a kid. I was a theater major originally in college. I was on stage performing song and dance. And we've talked about Meatloaf in the 1993 episode. I think we kind of agreed that his music has this huge dramatic sound like a stage musical.
Yes.
A big stage musical about a badass guy on a motorbike who's just coming up with different lines to get laid. I want you, I need you, but he's never going to love you. In Paradise by the Dashboard Light, he's praying for the end of time because he gave it all up for his one night in the back seat of the car. It's actually pure musical comedy.
Okay, I'll give you that. That's very well summed up.
And then something that was more serious, but I mean, come on, Rumors, what can be said about this album? I have this thing in music I like to call the comeback bass line. When an entire song would drop out and the bass leads it back in, it's pretty simple. The song The Chain is always going to be one of my favorite songs. I love that comeback bass line. And John McVie as a bass player was someone I always mentioned was an influence on me when I would talk to people about what influenced my playing personally. And I remember when Fleetwood Mac reunited back in the late 1990s and had that big concert on, well, it was
The dance
on TV, the dance.
Yeah, that was great.
But The Chain was the lead-in song for that. That was the very first song they played when they made that comeback. And yeah, Rumors is something else.
Oh, yeah, it is. Him and Mick Fleetwood. I don't know if you could find a tighter rhythm section. And the rest of the band, they have their part for that comeback to work. They have to, as hard as it can be for people just to shut up and fade to the background and let everything build it back up so you can shine again. Songs aren't worth a damn without a good rhythm section doing their thing. Mm-hmm. Every song on Rumors is, here's more hyperbole for you, is great.
Yeah.
And this is their 11th album overall, but it's only their second with Nicks and Buckingham.
Mm-hmm.
It won the Grammy for Album of the Year. It had 4 singles: Go Your Own Way, Don't Stop, You Make Love and Fun. They were all top 10 hits, and Dreams was number 1. They may have just showed mercy to the rest of the world and agreed to stop releasing singles from Rumors. One of the best songs they ever had, Silver Springs, was originally a B-side to Go Your Own Way and never made it onto Rumors. Silver Springs was written by Stevie Nicks about the breakup with Buckingham, and Go Your Own Way was Lindsay's breakup song about Stevie Nicks. It's kind of poetic that you're getting both sides of the coin on that 45.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It may surprise a lot of people with how much I like Saturday Night Fever. the soundtrack. I don't think I've ever seen the movie all the way through. I have nothing but respect for the Bee Gees. They've so many great songs. The Gibb brothers are incredibly talented songwriters. I don't know how anyone in their heart can't like Staying Alive. That's such a great group.
Hmm.
And How Deep Is Your Love, or any of their songs on Saturday Night Fever.
I love How Deep Is Your Love. What a cool tune.
It is a great song.
Yeah.
And then 1977, switching gears a little bit, gave us the debut of Elvis Costello, My Aim Is True,
Mm.
from beginning to end. Great album. All of those songs are so damn short. When you put it on, I swear it only lasts about maybe not even a half hour. You just got to keep flipping it over and play it over and over and over.
Yeah, it's such an amazing album. I think that we're finding music in the 1970s that genuinely shaped the world of music for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, we've barely scratched the surface. How many
Hmm.
groups have we talked about and we haven't even mentioned Queen?
Yeah.
This is news of the world. We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions. If you ask me, those aren't even close to being the best songs on that album. Or Animals, my favorite Pink Floyd album. Pink Floyd is one of the few bands I can take a 15-minute song from. I put that album on this morning and just blasted Dogs.
Let me ask you, because I've been over here now for, almost 12 years. Is it still common? Do you still need to play both We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions back to back if it comes on classic rock radio? Because I remember those two songs have always been together in my entire lifetime.
Yes. Not
Okay.
a personal choice of mine.
No.
But yeah, on the radio, yeah, it's always a 2 for Tuesday. You're
Okay.
always
Yep.
gonna get those.
But it's funny, how many songs do you have out there from bands where you can't play one without the other? And it's really cool for Queen that this fell into place, because they've had, 40 years now, plus, of just those two songs always getting airplay. And can you imagine if you're getting paid for play on the radio and,
Oh
both
yeah.
those songs get played? That's pretty cool.
And then from one classic group to another, I have to thank most of the guitar players I grew up learning to play with for my hatred of Eric Clapton's cocaine. Maybe Eric Clapton as a whole, I just can't take it.
Yeah, it's bar band basics, and that's what this Clapton album is. I know Wonderful Tonight became a quintessential wedding dance song for a while. I learned to play it back in the day. But if I'm going to pick something from 1977 to listen to, I'm going to lean more towards Bob Marley's Exodus, which is just such an amazing album. It's Bob at his best. I picked one of his songs from the 1980 episode, and there are a tasty few right here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Bob is in there with a genre mashup as well.
Paul Marley was another case of being sure a song was going to make it to my five. Three Little Birds. I was like, oh yeah, that's going to be a shoo-in. But the competition was just too stiff. It was so hard. We've said a couple times now about radio staples in 1977. How many times have you tuned into a radio station and heard most of these songs in one of their nonstop rock block or whatever bullshit they like to say? All right.
Well, okay.
It's just another way for me to just name check.
No, we've got to do this. So
Yep.
we'll get to our five at the end, but let's name check some of this. So let's create a nonstop block of 10 songs. You get five, I get five.
Okay.
What's this going to look like? What songs are going to be on this nonstop block?
ELO, Turn to Stone.
Oh, yeah. And then you got to have some Kansas on there with Dust in the Wind.
Yep. Rod Stewart, You're in My Heart.
How about Supertramp? Give a Little Bit.
Oh, great song. Billy
Mhm.
Joel, Moving Out.
Yeah. Eddie Money. 2 Tickets to Paradise, man. That's a good song.
Yeah, come on now. Chicago, baby. What a big surprise.
Yep. And then you're getting into your yacht rock there, aren't you? And then we
Yes.
have Styx, Come Sail Away.
And then Hart Barracuda, one of the greatest guitarists ever.
Oh, it's awesome. And Steve Miller Band, Jungle Love.
Oh, Commodores, Brick House.
Oh, that's awesome. And then Foreigner at that time, Cold as Ice.
Yeah, that's just one block of music right there, all from 1977.
It's amazing.
And you'll hear them 6 times a day.
You can probably predict when they're going to come on.
Exactly. I personally probably would have chosen Easy by the Commodores. That's such a great song. But, you know, that's just a small example of everything that was out in 77. My
Mhm.
friend Nicole would probably smack me for not choosing Scenes from an Italian Restaurant from Billy Joel. But hey, that's just the way she goes, right?
Yeah. Well, I also would have picked maybe Jet Airliner by Steve Miller to go onto that list.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a friend who grew up hearing this song as Big Old Jet and Lionel, as you do when you don't understand the lyrics as a kid. Now I can't hear it any other way. Whenever I hear it, I hear Big Old Jet and Lionel. And think about that the next time you hear this song. Trust me, you'll hear it and you'll laugh your ass off.
Yeah, and the song will take on a completely different narrative.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's so many songs we could have taken with us to the playlist from
Yes.
1977.
But we're only taking 10.
We are only taking 10. I am going to start off 1977 with James Taylor's Your Smiling Face. I really love the sound of the rhythm guitar. It flows so well in the mix with the bass and the drums. And there's this breakdown in the middle. You know those moments in songs when you're listening through headphones and the whole world has to stop around you so that you can just catch that one part of the song. And that breakdown in Your Smiling Face does that for me. You know, James Taylor, what a rich, unique, cool voice that he has. And in that breakdown, he's singing. It's not a cappella because you've got this, there's like a slinky bass thing going on and just kind of the drum beat. And then everything comes back. But it's just one of those moments in music that I have to pause for whenever it comes around.
Yeah, because it's a great song. That's for sure. And James Taylor, he's talented because just about everything he does, it just sounds effortless.
Mm,
Like it just flows out of him and he's putting no effort into it all. Great song.
yeah. Yeah. All right. So what's your first song from 1977?
The Ramones and Swallow My Pride.
Oh, big surprise.
Hey, big surprise. Okay. I'm going to try really hard to stop finding ways to mention the Ramones. I'm pretty sure I brought them up in every version so far, but all of them had merit. This is my favorite Ramones song. I'll never get tired of it. I love every sound on it. Listen to it loud. I mean, blast it. The pairing of Johnny's guitar, Dee Dee's bass, when it's just chugging along, just puts a smile on my face. And the just gently banging my head. I mean, it's got a great groove to it. I love Joey's voice, Dee Dee's harmonies. Leave Home album, it's incredible. And this song is the best.
Yeah, the Ramones, they were such an integral part of rock music in the 70s. And as much as they weren't classic rock, I almost think that what they were doing on this album with a song like Swallow My Pride was going to have a bigger influence on the 90s grunge and alternative rock that we listened to once we reached our 20s. So, you know, we talked about Kansas and Steve Miller Band and Styx. Those bands all kind of fell to the wayside. If you walk into a store right now, you can find a Ramones t-shirt. Yeah.
Without a doubt.
You know, it's fashion. And
Yeah.
yeah. So you're not going to find a Chicago t-shirt unless you're in Chicago.
And it may not be about the band.
No, probably not. Good choice.
But yes,
good
the
choice.
Ramones, legends. All right, what's your second song?
My second song, I am going to pick Blue Oyster Cult's Godzilla. Come on. Is there any better rock song about a fictional movie monster? The answer is no.
Well, yeah, okay, I'll just let you answer.
Oh, what? Name another one about a fictional movie monster. Yeah, Dean.
Frankenstein.
Okay, but Godzilla's better. I like Frankenstein.
At least it's
yeah.
got lyrics, right?
Yeah. I actually covered this with a band and the cops got called on the bar. We're playing in a bar where bands played every single Friday, Saturday night. And we played this song so loud that the neighbors finally broke this bar had been there for 20, 30 years. The neighbors finally broke down and called the cops because this song rocks. It rocks hard. And if you're going to play it loud. So if it comes on the playlist, anybody listening, turn it up. Godzilla.
Oh yeah, yeah. That one guitar, like it sounds like Godzilla's screaming his head off. I love that.
It just sounds like he's walking towards you.
Yeah, it's got that slow plod along to
Mhm.
it. Oh yeah, great
Yeah.
song. Great
Yep.
song to add to the playlist.
Yeah. So what is your second song then?
Well, I'm going to bring a little Cheap Trick with Mandocello. I tried not to talk too much about Cheap Trick until now. I fell in love with Cheap Trick when I first heard Live at Budokan. Mandocello isn't on there. It's from their first album, Cheap Trick. When I picked 1977, I knew Cheap Trick, they were definitely going to be in my five. I was surprised it wasn't something off In Color because overall that is the better album. But Mandocello gets the nod. It's just a top-notch song. It's got a nice opening acoustic part from Rick Nielsen. Then Tom Peterson's fantastic 8-string bass comes in. What a great bass tone. Robin Zander, textbook rock voice slowly fading in.
Yep.
Man, it's fantastic. And Bonnie Carlos just happens to be one of my favorite drummers because everything he does, it just fits perfectly, and it's got just a little bit of swing. And Rick Nielsen, he's the master of guitar hooks. He's awesome. I got to take a breath.
You're getting carried away there, Matt.
Yeah, a little bit. A
No.
little bit. I love Cheap Trick. Great band.
I hope people check this song out. And it's really cool. Here we are in 1977. For as long as I've known you, the Ramones and Cheap Trick have been two of your favorite bands. So it's nice to see that you're able to bring them here. I'm sure as we get into future episodes, we know these bands don't hold up over the years quite as well as they do right here. This is their time to shine. So put this on the playlist. And I like that you didn't bring their version of I Want You to Want Me.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
You know, Live at Budokan, I think that was one of those staple albums for us out of the 70s.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah,
I mean, that was must have.
Yeah. Probably my most listened to live album, if I could really. You might have a Kiss album on there, but I definitely think for me, Live at Budokan.
No, you're right. I think, yeah, that's probably my favorite live album.
Yeah. Cheap Trick, such a great band. And you're absolutely right about their musicianship. I think Cheap Trick's one of those bands where not one single member stands out without the other. They are a perfect band of guys that belong playing music together. So fantastic.
Yep, it just happens that they don't get taken too seriously, probably because of Rick Nielsen and Bonnie Carlos.
Yeah, but that's fine.
That's fine. That's like the wink to the camera.
It is.
They were always on the back cover of the album, where Robin and Tom were on the front because they were the rock star looking guys.
Hey, these guys are having fun doing what they're doing, and it's good.
And they're playing great music.
Yeah.
All right, what's your third song?
All right, my third song's probably gonna be a little weird for people. Matt, we're both Carpenters fans. We've talked about the Carpenters in the past. Carpenters, great band.
Yes.
And Karen Carpenter, I think, has one of the purest voices of her generation and a great songwriter and a great musician. But this song is a little bit different. This song is calling occupants of interplanetary craft. I don't know if maybe it's because of my 1977 obsession with Star Wars and anything space is cool, but it kind of plays up like a news report at first. And then Karen Carpenter comes in singing basically that, calling occupants of interplanetary craft over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But it has that, 1977 Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It fits into all of that world that was going on with science fiction. And I think my childhood mind that liked to look up at the stars and wonder how many stories we could write that were based out there. Love this song.
Yeah, especially with the way it starts, because they make contact with the aliens, or the aliens make contact with us. So you're kind of hooked in, like, okay, where is this going? Right? You let your imagination run wild.
Yeah. This is probably going to be the first weird song that we've put on the playlist, or that I have. And I'm sure there'll be a tolerance for people to listen to it when it comes on, but check it out once, everybody.
Yeah, hey, come on. It's only 3 to 4 minutes out of your life. That's not that bad. It's a good song. It's the Carpenters. They're great.
It is. All right. So what is your next one?
I'm going to go with the Stranglers and Something Better Change. The Stranglers, their music, it's always got, there's definitely a new wave punk, a little bit of a menacing edge to their music. But I love the way they record everything. Everything just sits right in the mix. That bass, it cuts that in that organ keyboard part in this song. It's same with, I'll give an honorary mention to Peaches. It handles that big melody throughout the song.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a great song. There's always tongue-in-cheek humor, which it can be forgotten in songs. And I think the Stranglers are one of those bands outside of Golden Brown that I think a lot of their music gets forgotten.
Well, they aren't forgotten here in the UK. They still tour. Those who are still alive still play as the Stranglers here.
Yeah, I
And
think the keyboardist and the drummer passed away.
yeah, but they draw to their shows. And I've got a couple of friends who are huge Strangler fans and go see all of their shows and dress in black when they go, their
Oh, that's
leather
cool to hear.
jackets and stuff. So yeah, Stranglers are still really well regarded over here. I think they're one of those gems of the UK that never reached into the States quite as far as a lot of the other, British bands did. And, Golden Brown, that was probably their biggest hit in the United States, but
But
they've
that
got a
was in
lot.
the 80s too, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, but they've got a lot of great songs, and this is a cool one to bring to the playlist. I'm happy. And I'll say that tongue-in-cheek humor thing, Matt, I think that's a theme we're going to see sometimes from you. We just talked about Cheap Trick and how they
Yeah.
kind of have that awareness. I think this style of writing is fun. And I think you enjoy that, the tongue-in-cheek stuff and the performance. So yeah, Stranglers, good stuff. First three songs right here, amazing.
Bang, bang, bang. All right. What is your fourth song then?
All right, my fourth song is, it's funny. In the notes, it just says, just watch the music video. And
Yeah.
this is Ram Jam, and the song is Black Betty. Such a good song, so much fun. This song is what classic rock is for me in many ways. That kind of raw, before we talked about Foreigner, we talked about Styx, some of that stuff got really glossed over as it went towards the 80s. But this song, Black Betty, it's always just sounded like a cross between that classic rock and punk sound that was going on. And when I say go watch the music video, we grew up in the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont. If you were going to be invited out to a party on a Sunday afternoon in Island Pond, this very well could have been the band that would have been standing outside playing, guys doing, burnouts on motorcycles around the area and stuff like that. They just look like some classic good old boys that we grew up with up there in the North. And the drum solo in this, there's a drum breakdown part that's just a lot of fun to listen to. It's surprising because I'd forgotten about that drum part. I think you hear Black Betty in a lot of films and television
Yeah,
now,
you do.
but you just kind of hear the riff because it's a driving part to the
Yeah.
song and it's getting something going. But the drum breakdown in it's really so much fun. And when I was listening to it this week and it came through, I'd forgotten about it. And it made me laugh because it's, we talk about fun and music and Black Betty, man, good tune.
Yeah. And part of that laugh is because when it hits, you're like, God, this is just great.
It is.
Right. And right after they play Black Betty, they're going to go right into Godzilla.
That's a different band.
I know, but you can just hear it at the same party.
Oh, you could?
Right?
Yeah. The band would play Black Betty.
Right?
Yeah.
No, Black Betty. That's a great, come on, Ramlet. That's a great fucking song right there.
All right. What is your next one?
All right. My fourth song is going to be Elvis Presley. And If You Love Me, Let Me Know. When I saw this album was released in 1977, immediately I knew exactly I was going to have a hard time choosing what song was going to come off it, but I knew something was coming off it. I already talked about how much this album means to me. I heard it so much, especially after he passed away. I don't think there was a day I didn't hear this album at least twice. So I won't dive in too deep, but Elvis may have had the hots for Olivia Newton-John because he covered two songs she had success with on this record, and this is one of them. Elvis's version has much more life to it and maybe a little bit of a country sound. The vocal arrangement just it grabs my attention, especially JD Summer. He's got that deep bass part. But If You Love Me, Let Me Know. Love the song.
Yeah, the album Moody Blue was big in my house as well. My dad was a massive Elvis fan, and I think that there was a lot of attachment to this record because of it coming out so close to when he died.
Yes.
But it was one of those songs. Yeah, man, if you love me, let me know. That song is one of those forever songs for me. I feel like I've never not known that song in my life.
Yeah, that you're exactly right. I remember the song forever.
Yeah. All right. So my last song
It is your
from
last song,
yeah,
Jim.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna pick Iggy Pop's Lust for Life.
yay.
The film Train Spotting. It was on the soundtrack. Who knew one day that I would be managing a store in Edinburgh, Scotland, on Princes Street, the same road that Ewan McGregor's running down to that song at the start of the movie. Like, it's just, it's kind of surreal. I would step out onto that street from time to time and just look up and down it and think to myself, this is crazy that I watched that movie so many times and watched them run down this street. And, Lust for Life, what a cool tune. It just has all of the swagger and attitude that Iggy Pop brings to his music. But I think one of the things that's cool about it is it takes forever to start. The intro to that song.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's just like you keep thinking it's going to start. And it's got like these false starts. It just keeps changing to a different key, to a different key, to a different key. And then finally he comes in and sings. And he delivers the song well, but it's really only like a 2.5, 3.5 minute song. But you feel like you've listened to a 5 or 6 minute song because of how long it took him to come in and start singing the lyrics.
Yeah, but as soon as that beat comes on, you know it's about to go down.
Oh yeah, that's one of the most recognizable beats.
Yeah, and it sounds so great. And I'll give an honorable mention to The Passenger. There we go.
Oh,
More Iggy
yeah,
Pop. Yeah.
that's a great song too.
No, Lust for Life. That's a welcome addition to the playlist. Everybody loves this song.
Yeah, I'm happy to have it there. All right, so what's your final song for 1977?
Well, I will bring ABBA and Take a Chance on Me.
Yeah.
How dare anyone ever shit on ABBA? They always deliver an incredible vocal performance. And remember what I said about the Gibbs? Same goes for Benny and Bjorn, master songwriters. It's a tough call, but this could be my favorite ABBA song. There's so many good ones. It's hard to choose one, but that opening vocal salvo hooked me the first time I heard it. Agnetha and Frida, their voices fit so perfectly together. It's just an amazingly memorable melody. This song puts me in a good mood. I would have loved to been in the studio and witness the evolution of a song like this being written from just probably a simple melody to just all of the layers being built upon one another to finish the song. It would have been amazing to see.
This song got a lot of airplay in my apartment in Bennington back in the day. And it's probably my favorite ABBA song as well. I'm slightly jealous you brought it to the playlist because it makes you a little bit cooler than me this week.
Well, you had Iggy Pop.
I did. But this song, you're right about the salvo and the vocal, the way that it comes in, because it catches you right away. That vocal, it's almost like the take a chance, take a chance, take a chance. And then when they come in, when Agnetha and Frida come in and start singing, it's two different hooks built on top of each other. And then all of a sudden the music comes in and the whole song's going and it's still doing that same hook over.
Yeah.
Again.
The whole take a chance, take a chance. Yeah. But it's all underlying.
Yeah. We used to try to figure out how to do the syncopation of the take a chance. We could never get it.
Oh, somebody always screws it up.
Yeah. It's brilliant though. It's absolutely brilliant. So great song. And I'm going to be really psyched when this comes up when I'm listening to the playlist.
Awesome. All right. And that wraps up 1977.
Another 10 songs on the playlist.
Yeah. It's kind of sad to see the year go, but that's what happens. And then we're on to the next.
We are on to the next. And we were wrong at the beginning of this show. You chose 1977.
I did. So where are you going to take us next?
Wait, this is going to happen, people. Trust us. Sometimes we can't even count to 5, so depends on how many beers we've had.
I know. Let's not blame beer. It just gets confusing going back and forth. After number 2, it's anybody's guess as to what song we're on.
You probably missed it, but back when you were talking about Cheap Trick, you actually said the sentence when I picked 1977, and I picked up on that and I went, "Oh yeah."
Oh, yeah.
So You picked 1977. I am going to clear us straight away from all of these nostalgic places that we've been visiting over the past few episodes of the show.
Oh,
And I'm
no.
going to take us into the 2000s, Matt. We need to go explore the 2000s a little bit more. I'm going to take us to 2008.
Oh, okay.
Oh, see, straight away, Matt knows something from
Yeah.
2008 that he liked.
Yep.
So there's a lot of years in the 2000s that we need to explore. I mean, there's almost more years in the 2000s if you look at it.
It's getting that way.
So I think we're going to find a lot of good music in the 2000s, and we're going to be really excited to discover new stuff.
There was a lot of stuff that I remember discovering, and I'm very curious to see what's going to hold up. Yeah. And if I tug on a few strings and what rabbit holes I'm going to go down.
I'm looking forward to it.
I am too.
Okay. Well, you want to wrap the show up?
Yeah, we want to thank everybody for tuning in to the GM Yearbook for version 1977. And Jim is going to make us go into the next millennium. We're going to go all the way to 2008 next time. So we will see you here next time.
We'll see you then. Peace, love, and podcast.